Hello beautiful, welcome to my art studio. I'm going to be walking you through in this video making the mini paint sets. Hopefully I'll be able to pop a little picture up here so you can see exactly what they look like because they're so gorgeous. Right, let's get into it. So the first thing I needed to make was a form to take a mould from to use as a palette. So this is the form made of Fimo, the package you just saw there. Okay, so I didn't end up filming actually making that form ready to make a mould from. The mould bit comes up next, it's quite exciting. But it's basically just rolling out the Fimo flat, cutting the shape the size you need it. I really wanted these to fit inside a matchbox, more on that later. And then the square apertures are cut from another piece of thicker Fimo using little tiny pastry cutters, the kind of cutters you use to make cake decorating, that sort of thing. And then the two pieces are just sealed together a little bit around the edges. Then you bake it in the oven according to the packet instructions. Leave it to cool, Bob's your uncle, ready to do the next bit. So here's my form, hard, where I've got it out of the oven. I'm just going to check the size, make sure it fits in my little matchbox, and it does, it fits perfectly. I did measure really carefully, but you just never know with these things, do you? So I'm happy to go ahead. And here I've just popped it in a little tray ready to add silicone. This is a silicone I'm using, it's a 2-part silicone. Mix it together, pour it in, ready to make the mould. There's a little note for myself. And here's the finished silicone mould once it's cured. You leave it overnight and then that's it. To pour the mould, I use Jesmonite, which is a really hard eco resin. It's a powder and liquid mix, and then it kind of comes out like plaster, but it's really, really hard, and it gives a really fine detail. So as you do, I made a gazillion, and then I got started making the paint ready for it while they were drying. So even though it actually cures in about 40 minutes, the Jesmonite, I still left them for 4 or 5 days in my airing cupboard just drying out. And in the meantime, I got started with my paint palette. I'll talk more about the colours I've chosen after that. Once they've finished completely curing, you can see me on my little kitchen table here. And I'm using a wax mixture that I've created to seal the Jesmonite, because I didn't want to use a liquid sealant like an acrylic paint on sealant or something like that, because with palettes and with the paints they're going to be getting wet all the time, and eventually that painted on sealant would have just rolled and peeled off, you know, like how PVA does off your fingers. So I needed to wax every single part. Here's the exciting bit, adding the paints into the palettes. So I'm using black, white, the 3 primaries and gold. The reason I've chosen those colours is because you can make a gazillion other colours with them. So it's a super handy kind of cover all the bases type palette. So pretty! Okay, that's 6 little sets done, and I don't want to pour these because this is all the mica I have, and I want to make sure these are nice and full. I don't want to be sending them out like below par, so these will settle as they dry, and then I'll top them up again, and then if there's some left I'll fill up those trays too. Okay, so excuse the dodgy filming, but these are ones where they've been left to dry. You can see how it sinks, so I just have to top them up. Right, it's time to give them a go. This is my palette, which is why it looks a bit dodgy. I chose the ugliest one to use as my sample piece. You need to give them a good spray of water because that releases the pigment and allows, you know, the pigment to be nice and deep. So this is me just trying out the different colours, making sure they've got good coverage. The longer you leave the spray, the better. If you can leave it 3 to 5 minutes sprayed on there, I mean, you don't need to use the spray bottle, you can just splash with water, that's fine too. And then, you know, it helps to make the colour really kind of strong and poppy. But I just love how it looks on the white and on the black. They're so versatile. Here I'm going to get the little palette out, give it a go. It works an absolute treat. I mean, it was just a guess, you know, I made 10 of them before I even give it a go, because that's what creatives do, right? But what I'm loving about this palette is all the different combinations of colours and mixtures you can make just really simply by mixing 1 or 2 colours, because obviously that's what the primary colours do. So you can make peaches, browns, all sorts of shades of green, you know, using the gold for all sorts of things as well. And even if at the top there you can see next to that peach, it almost looks like silver, even though there's not actually silver in it, because the white with the blue looks really silvery. It's absolutely beautiful, really pretty, and as I say, really versatile. So I'm just going to let you have a little look while I'm tinkering about with some other colours. Okay, so now on to packaging, and as you know, I really wanted these to fit inside the Matchbox, and they do really well, but I was not happy with the look of them. I thought the quality of the actual paint palette didn't look great in that white Matchbox, so I tried painting the Matchbox, putting on a fancy sticker, some little things. Didn't work for me. It still didn't give the high quality of the actual product in the packaging, and I really wanted to offer something beautiful and you know, giftable, and something that if you received it, whether it's for yourself or somebody else, when you open it you feel really like you've got something very beautiful and special. So I remembered I had these boxes from EcoCraft. They're all completely recycled, etc. Took me a while to remember how to build them. And this is what I've ended up going with, and I think they look absolutely lush. So even though they're not tiny cute in their little Matchboxes, the way I've done these is you get the palette with them, which I think is a lovely idea. So it's a kind of complete gift. And I have to say, I've been using my palette for all sorts of things. Well, for watercolour paints obviously, but what I mean is not just with this set, I've been using it with my other watercolour paint sets as well. It's been really super handy. So a nice little label for the front. Look, don't you think they look classy? I'm really pleased with them. Let me know what you think in the comments. So there you have it, the cutest little paint set that ever did live. Obviously available on the website, but I just thought you'd like to see the process. Have a beautiful day, my friend. Don't forget to create it however that looks for you, whether it's sketching, gardening, baking, making love, however you do it, create. It's the best way to get into flow, and once you're in flow, miracles happen. Ciao.